And then let me go ahead and get the quiz going.
Yes, please.
So, so welcome everyone. We'll keep letting folks percolate in, but I'm going to go ahead and launch the pre-quiz here. So you should see a window pop up. Sometimes if you have a pop-up blocker installed, you're not going to see it. That's fine. Just go ahead and try and answer this. We'll give you guys a couple minutes. It's only 3 questions, so we'll give you like a minute or two and go ahead, fill it out, submit it, and then we'll revisit this at the end of the presentation as well. Okay, I'm seeing some of them coming through here. I'll give
Yep.
you guys another 30 seconds or so. Okay, good deal. I think we're doing pretty good. We got 8. I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll. We'll come up with the answers. Some of this ought to look familiar by the end as well. But with that said, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off here to Dr. Schiavon. He's a turf researcher with the University of Florida, Fort Lauderdale Research Education Center, and the Environmental Horticulture Department. And so today he's going to cover all things turf nutrients and things related to the blackout period. So thank you for being here, Dr. Schiavon.
All right. Thank you, guys, and thanks for coming on federal holiday. Yep. Well, as John said, we will be talking about turf nutrition and what to do with summer blackout periods. Probably a lot of you know the first part, but it's always good to have a refresher. And you're probably more interested in the second part. But anyway, so let me see. Okay, switching now. Perfect. Um, Turfgrass fertilization, landscape in general fertilization. It's a sensitive issue because when misapplied, uh, especially nitrogen and phosphorus, could lead to problems. The main problem is eutrophication, which is the fancy name we use for algal bloom. Now, the state of Florida, based on research from University of Florida, has some guidelines as to how much fertilizer you can apply throughout the state. Um, these urban fertilizer rule, which is a state fertilizer rule, divides the state into 3 geographical regions: south, central, and north. Now, I was talking with John yesterday. I would believe a majority of you are from the southern part, where our state recommendation for lawn fertilization are between 2 and 6 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet per year. Now we'll learn how to calculate that. Now, when you have soluble nitrogen, soluble nitrogen, so readily available nitrogen, you cannot apply more than half a pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet per application. Things change when you have slow release nitrogen, but let's start from the beginning. Each fertilizer in the state of Florida must come with a bag. Well, excuse me. Of course, must come with a label. Label is the law, right? So each bag of fertilizer that is sold in the state comes with a label. The label always have three numbers up front. The first number always nitrogen. Second number always phosphate. Third number always potassium. Let's review quite fast, quite quick. Let's review what each of these macronutrients do. So nitrogen is a macronutrient, is the element we based all our recommendation on. And the reason why we basically all our recommendation are based on nitrogen, it's because nitrogen is involved in the vegetation part of the plant, hence the greenness of your plant. Now, in turfgrass, what happens is that we do not want our grass to flower, hence we all we want to promote is growth and growth of green tissue. Hence, all our recommendations are based on nitrogen alone. Turfgrass requires nitrogen during active growth. The problem is nitrogen, especially nitrate, is a highly mobile inside the soil. Hence,
Dr. Schiavon,
yes.
one second. I'm seeing like on the messages here that there might be an audio issue. Did
Really?
anything change between like when you started and
I did not. What's going on?
it's something with your microphone. It seems like it's coming in a little scratchy.
Oh, really? I
Or-
am sorry.
Well,
I have
no,
not
no,
changed
it kind of goes in and out. So I think
I
that
see.
like maybe try and hold the microphone closer to your your
Yes.
mouth, or maybe do you have another microphone device?
Let me try. Are you guys? Let me insert these and see if it works better. Is this better now? Can you hear me?
It's still very similar. It kind of almost sounds like
Give me,
oh
give
that
me
that
1 second.
that kind of
Oh,
sounds a little better there.
does it? Okay. I am because otherwise I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know what to do. And I hope you can hear me better now.
It sounds a little better, but yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess the best you can do is kind of just try and have that
Yeah.
microphone close, and then
I'll try. Yeah, I'll try to have it as close to my mouth, and I'm
it,
really sorry
uh,
for
oh, and
what's
then
happening.
they're saying that they think it might be coming through that you're using the computer microphone, and maybe you need to try and transfer over
I'm
to.
actually using these. I am using the speaker microphone,
Okay.
um, which which is the main problem. Okay, let me see. Um, uh, any better, you
I think
guys?
so. Well, or can you just
Yep.
try and say something here?
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me now, or not at all?
It's maybe marginally better. But yeah, it seems like that there's just a little bit of feedback or something.
Yep.
I can't put my finger on it, but
Yeah.
I mean I can still you're still intelligible. It just seems a little muffled or it's got a little noise pollution or
Okay.
something, but that's
Okay.
fine.
All
We
right.
can still hear you. It's just not the perfect
The
quality.
best. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
So
sorry.
sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt. We'll
No, no,
go.
no, no. That's absolutely fine. I'm sorry. First time that happens. I guess I'll have to change. I'll have to change settings soon. Um. Anyway. Uh. And hopefully you can hear me. We were talking about nitrogen. Nitrogen comes in several different forms, and it's important to know them. So it comes in organic or inorganic form. Organic forms are urea or biosolids, and inorganic forms are basically the bags of fertilizers that you guys buy um, at Home Depot and any other place they sell fertilizer. Is there any difference in terms of plant response? No. None is better than the other. What's the nitrogen is nitrogen. There is a huge difference, though, in terms of regulation, rules and regulation. So the main difference you need to know is about quick or soluble fertilizer and slow release or controlled fertilizer. The quick or soluble fertilizer are immediately available to the plant, while the slow or control release fertilizer, actually you can imagine them basically like your M&M, right? You have the chocolate outside and the almond on the inside. In order to release the elemental nitrogen, they actually need to be activated. And release mechanisms include microbial action, hydrolysis, temperature, and osmotic diffusion. So basically, what happens is that if you do not water them in, they're not releasing the nitrogen at all. Phosphorus. Now, phosphorus should be applied in the state of Florida only based on soil or test tissue. What happens is established warm season turf grasses have really low needs of phosphorus. And what happens is that the majority of that phosphorus is available in the soil. Hence, basically, if you do not have a soil test or tissue test that tells you must or you have to apply phosphorus, you should refrain to applying phosphorus. Also because people do not realize it, but phosphorus contributes significantly to red tides. To the red algae. Okay, if the phosphorus is high enough, then we have red algae invading the Gulf. If phosphorus is not good enough, then algae basically don't grow. Potassium is basically the multivitamin for turfgrass. Okay. Potassium is known for sure to improve cold tolerance in turf and plants in general. However, what happens is that we do not really need that side during in Florida, not even during the winter times, especially in South Florida. We don't really care about how much the grass is cold tolerant because unless a catastrophe happens, temperatures down here will never be so low that could actually kill the grass. The thing about potassium, though, is that it is not a pollutant. For instance, when you do eat a banana, what you're eating is mostly potassium. Hence, basically, people apply it over abundantly just basically before they can. The truth is, the N to K ratio of your fertilizer can be 3:1, 2:1, or 1:1, so same amount of nitrogen as potassium, and nothing really is going to change much down here, okay? Magnesium is good for palms, okay? Magnesium itself, unless we have really acidic soil, things that we do not tend to see down in South Florida, we don't need it, okay? The magnesium, we suggest using any fertilizer with magnesium when you are fertilizer palms as well. If you're fertilizing turfgrass, if the fertilizer has magnesium, great. If it doesn't have magnesium, do not sweat about it. And then finally, iron is actually, if someone knows what happens when you apply irons to turfgrass, is that the grass turns immediately green because iron is essential for the formation of chlorophyll and for the photosynthesis itself. However, iron is not a substitute for nitrogen, meaning iron itself does not stimulate turfgrass growth. Okay, it stimulates turfgrass color. It makes it darker green, but it does not stimulate growth. Nevertheless, we may have every once in a while, if our turfgrass looks chlorothic and yellowish, we may have problems down here in South Florida. Why is that? Because iron is limited by pH. So if the pH is higher than 6, which is fairly common down south here, iron is not really mobile. It is not absorbable. Hence, it may sometimes we may have to supply it. And what happens is usually you want to supply in soluble / liquid form, okay? Because when you apply it as a granular source, that gets immobilized almost immediately. So we talk about nitrogen rates, so 2 to 6 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet per year. Now we basically need to know how much fertilizer we actually need to apply every time we go out and apply fertilizer. So the first thing you guys need to know is basically determine how much area you are going to treat. And when you determine that, try to be conservative, okay? So like you can see in this picture, for instance, you have 20 feet by 30 feet, that will give you 600 square feet. But when you measure, take out your ornamentals / shrubs. Why is that? Because they may have completely different fertilizer need than your turf. So when you do, first thing is when you do measure how much, what's the area you're about to treat, please make sure that you are conservative when you measure. And then the second thing you need to know is what kind of nitrogen fertilizer, what kind of nitrogen source you are using, okay? Because if you're using a quick or soluble fertilizer, which are the urea, just simple urea, okay? Urea or ammonium sulfate, calcium nitrate, that kind of stuff, you can apply at 0.5 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet per application. However, if you're using a slow or control released fertilizer, you can, our recommendation is to apply at 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. Now, legally, you can apply up to 2 pounds per application. However, our recommendation is to apply at 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet per application, okay? There is a huge difference between regular urea and coated urea. Coated urea is a slow or controlled release fertilizer. Regular urea is quick or soluble. Anyway, to be 100% sure of what you're using, once again, you need to go back and check the label, all right? Label is the law. This label, as we saw, has 30, 0, 10. So 30% of what's in the bag is nitrogen. 0 is phosphorus, 10% is potassium. So here you have a 3-0-1 ratio, which is good, okay? No phosphorus and 3-to-1 ratio. And then you go to the label and it tells you total nitrogen 30%. Of course, it's here, first number. But then when you scroll down, the label actually must tell you the percentage of slow release nitrogen as well. So in this case, you have 27% slow release nitrogen on a total of 30% total nitrogen. All you have to do is take the slow release percentage and then divide it by the total nitrogen and multiply by 100. In this case, 27 divided by 30, multiply by 100, 90% slow release nitrogen. That is definitely a slow release source of nitrogen. The the state rules tells you that if the slow release nitrogen is at or above 30%, okay, the fertilizer is considered to be a slow release program. This is what the state Florida ordinance tells you. And these you can apply, we suggest you to apply at a rate of 1 pound of actual nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. Okay, but how much fertilizer is translates to 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet? And here it is, a little bit more of calculation, but again, really simple. Let's change completely our example. In this example, we have 15, 0, 15. So 15% nitrogen, 0 phosphorus, 15 potassium. Okay, 1-0-1, 1-to-1 ratio nitrogen potassium. In this case, all you have to do to know how much fertilizer gives you 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet is divide the amount, the percentage of fertilizer in the bag into 100, okay? In this case, 100 divided by 15 is equal to 6.5. So you would apply 6.5 pounds of fertilizer per 1,000 square feet to get 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet, okay? To help you visualize, once again, to calculate the amount of fertilizer per 1,000 square feet, take 100, divide by 15, and that gives you the amount of fertilizer per 1,000 square feet. To help you visualize, you have 6.6 pounds of nitrogen, okay? Pounds of fertilizer, sorry, 6.6 pounds of fertilizer. Of those 6.6 pounds of fertilizer, 1 pound would be nitrogen. What's the rest? Well, in this case, we have a 1-to-1 ratio, nitrogen to potassium. Hence, you know that another pound will be potassium. And then what's the rest? It's usually inert material, right? We talk about it at the beginning. Think about the M&M, your coating. Well, your coating has a weight. And that contributes basically to the rest, to the remaining 4.5 pounds you have on your fertilizer. In this case, for instance, another example, you have 1608, and it's a 65% soluble nitrogen and 35 slow or insoluble nitrogen. State fertilization, state rule, state ordinance tells you 30 or more percent. So you should apply a 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. How much fertilizer is that? Is 100 divided by 16. In this case, 6.25 pounds of fertilizer to get 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. If you want to take a screenshot at this table, because this helps you with different percent nitrogen within the bag, and also eventually different areas, but all these number lends you the amount of fertilizer to get 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet, which is, once again, the amount that we suggest you apply at if you're using a slow release source of nitrogen. Now, it's really important to know that just as if you would be applying a pesticide, when you apply a fertilizer, your equipment must be properly calibrated. You need to make sure that you are trying, or at least you are trying, but you are really applying your fertilizer as uniformly as possible throughout your area. So either if you are applying it in liquid form, or if you are applying it as soluble granular form, you must properly calibrate your sprayers. In this case, back to the previous example, when you had to apply 6.6 pounds of fertilizer per 1,000 square feet, try to apply half in one direction and the other half in the other direction, so that you know you are basically reaching all the areas, all the spots. Okay. Generally speaking, down here for South Florida, okay, your basic fertilization goes from 0 to 2 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet per year. The moderate, and this is usually where we want to go, okay? We want to try to stay in the middle, moderate fertilization, 2 to 4 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet per year. You can technically, based on Florida Fertilizer Ordinance, you can apply 4 to 6 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet per year. But if your grass is looking decent, there is no need to do that. You want to stay around the 4 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet per year. Now, also, please keep in mind, these recommendations are mostly for St. Augustine grass, because if you are managing zoysia grass, which is gaining popularity among homeowners, if you're applying zoysia grass, basically you need to apply half of that amount of nitrogen. Okay, zoysia grass has way less nitrogen needs compared to St. Augustine grass. So far we talked about the state ordinance. However, it's really important to know that in Florida, counties and municipalities can impose stricter rules, okay? So, for instance, this slide is for the Miami-Dade blackout fertilizer period. Miami-Dade passed in 2023 the strictest ordinance in terms of fertilizer bans. Okay, you can see it here. They say do not fertilize, never, no fertilization, May 15 to October 31st. No fertilization at all. No fertilization during weather watches and fertilize within 20 feet of water body. That is totally fine, but check this out. Always use at least 65% slow release nitrogen. So the state ordinance tells you 30. However, in Miami-Dade, you need to use at least 65% slow release nitrogen. Now, this is Miami-Dade. Nevertheless, pretty much all South Florida has stricter rules than the state one. You need to know it's your legal responsibility, because technically you can be fined if you break the rule. It's your legal responsibility to know if your address falls within a fertilizer city or municipality or county fertilizer ordinance. This map is publicly available, and if you want to take a look at this link. Take a screenshot because basically the map, if you click on the link, you go into the map, then you add your place, and it tells you exactly your fertilizer on ordinance. Okay. Now, that is technically a problem because Miami-Dade here, the green bars tells you when you can fertilize. Okay. So in Miami-Dade County, you can fertilize, check it out. You can basically fertilize when the grass is not growing as fast. Okay. We usually tell our recommendation is fertilize when grass is actively growing. If grass is dormant, then at that point there is no need to fertilize that grass. However, our blackout ordinances may actually impede us to fertilize exactly when the grass is actively growing. So what happened? What's the impact of those blackout periods in Florida alone? And in the last 2 to 3 years, I have conducted a lot of studies down here in Fort Lauderdale. So first studies I want to show you are on St. Augustine grass. Okay, we basically fertilized. This is Citra Blue. We had an experiment on Citra Blue, which is the new St. Augustine grass cultivar that UF released in 2018. We fertilized it at either 2, 4, or 6 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. Okay. Following the imposition of a blackout period or without the imposition of a blackout period. So basically, with the imposition of the blackout period, we applied fertilizer end of February, March, then right before the blackout period, so May 14th, and then right after the blackout period. If you check the 4 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet, those are our recommendation. 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet, always, all the time, with at least 30% control release nitrogen. Right before the blackout period, so in the spring, however, we used a 75% control release nitrogen. Why is that? Because basically the grass were not going to be fertilized for more than 5 months. However, without the imposition of blackout periods, we spread out fertilization more evenly. So February, May, end of July, and October. If you look at the 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet, those are basically our recommendations. What happened with Citra Blue? With Citra Blue, what we saw is, this is a turfgrass visual quality, and it's something that we do to assess the quality of the grass, where 6 is the minimum acceptable level, below which your HOA is not going to send you a love letter. So you're totally fine when it's 6 or above. What happened is that basically we saw that when you follow the imposition of Miami-Dade blackout period, we had better spring quality, and that is expected because the grass received more nitrogen in February and March compared to no blackout period. However, basically during the summer, the treatment with no blackout period caught up because we actually applied in July. So you see, basically by August, no differences whatsoever. And then the trend reversed by the end of the year. Okay, so better quality when you do not follow the blackout period. Nevertheless, if you check this out, the only time of the year when Citra Blue, in this case, did not achieve significant acceptable quality was between December and February. From March on, either if you fertilize following a blackout period or if you fertilize without following a blackout period, no problems whatsoever. However, Of course, Citra Blue is not really commonly spread throughout Florida. I foresee it becoming more popular in the following year, but we've done the same thing in Floratam. Okay, so this is still St. Augustine grass, Floratam. Exactly the same thing. 4 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet with or without the blackout period, and the blackout period was exactly the same, the previous one, so May 15, October 31st. Floratam did exactly the same thing. So with the blackout period, you see a slightly better quality during the springtime. However, even if you do not follow the blackout period, Floratam has an acceptable visual quality during the springtime. Okay, and then basically in the middle of the blackout period, the treatment catch up. Okay, so no difference whatsoever. We've done this in zoysia grass. In zoysia grass as well, a lot, way more treatments. We've done a lot of treatments in zoysia grass because technically zoysia grass, as I told you, you can fertilize it less. Now, problem with zoysia grass is that our controls and our all these was fertilizing following a blackout period. So our last fertilization was in May. Okay, all the control, which is this line, the bottom line, the control received no fertilizer whatsoever. Surprise, surprise, with no fertilizer whatsoever, zoysia grass was never achieved acceptable quality. However, with all the treatments that we used, zoysia grass always had acceptable quality other than for this line, and this line was using only urea, okay? And soluble urea applied at 0.5 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. So the only treatment that fell below acceptable quality during the blackout period was slow release fertilizer that was applied for the last time in May. Okay, if you apply if you apply a soluble release fertilizer does not sustain turfgrass quality throughout the blackout period. So if you have a summer blackout period, right before your blackout period, you must use a slow release source of nitrogen. Okay? The slower, the better. 75% or above, and be happy with it. 75, 90%, whatever you want. But if you have a blackout period, right before the blackout period, please apply a slow release source of nitrogen. Also, we've done a slightly different, we also had a slightly different approach for zoysia grass because this is the problem with zoysia grass. Unlike St. Augustine grass, that you can fertilize at 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet and then forget for a couple of months, zoysia grass actually prefers what we call spoon feeding. So little amounts, tiny amounts, but more frequently. Okay, this is what we observe. Remember, zoysia grass fertilized only with urea did not have acceptable quality during the summer. So what happened is we tried at the end of the blackout period, because the other problem with zoysia grass is that zoysia grass is the only grass that may or may not go into dormancy. Down here in South Florida, it's not really dormant, but it loses color. Okay. So what we tried is at the end of the blackout period, we had an experiment where we either applied 0.5 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet in November, or 0.5 pound of nitrogen total for the winter time, 1/4 pound in November, 1/4 pound in January, or 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet for the winter time, applied as 0.5 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet in November and half in January, or 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet during the winter time total, applied as a quarter of a pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet every month. So basically, it's spoon feeding. Apply really little, really frequently. We always use the 75% slow release nitrogen, and we check if zoysia grass could maintain color throughout the wintertime. And the thing is that, yes, zoysia grass, technically, what you want to do is try to apply 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet during the wintertime, so November until March. And the best way to achieve it is by spoon feeding it. So technically, I usually do not recommend to fertilize St. Augustine grass in January, December or January, but zoysia grass is different. If you do apply a quarter of a pound, so really tiny amount per 1,000 square feet through the winter time, zoysia grass is able to sustain color, okay, through the winter time. Here's the difference between zoysia grass not fertilized during the winter time and zoysia grass with 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet through the winter time. Also, this treatment was much better than applying only half a pound of nitrogen in November and forget about it. Okay. And just to give you an example and a visualization of how zoysia grass looked in the spring, so in April, here you can see zoysia grass that was fertilized through the winter time, and here you can see control, so zoysia grass that was not fertilized through the winter time. So please keep in mind, zoysia grass is a different beast than St. Augustine grass. You do need to apply tiny amounts of nitrogen during the winter time to keep it green and growing. Anyway, just to wrap things up, and I hope you heard me. I hope I didn't speak for no reason. Anyway, remember that actively growing dense turf is actually the best defense against nutrient pollution, because that turf is intercepting the nutrients and water runoff. Apply the correct amount. More is not better. Follow UF IFA's recommendation. We are doing these studies. We know that if you go and apply 3 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet in one application, actually all you do is probably burning your grass, not making it better. You need to maintain a buffer zone around water bodies. Always check your ordinance to see how much. Soil test for phosphorus. Chances are your second number of your fertilizer bag is always 0. Okay. Fertilize turf when actively growing if you don't have a blackout fertilizer period, and then irrigate fertilizer in with a quarter of an inch of water the night when you fertilize. This is really important. Do not fertilize planted grass up to 2 months after the sod came in, okay? Because that sod usually comes with a lot of fertilizer from the sod farm. They push the grass as much as possible in order to harvest as much as possible. So do not fertilize newly planted grass. Keep off fertilizer of driveways, sidewalks, and patio. And if you have a blackout period, it can be up to 5 months. Don't worry about it. St. Augustine grass can take it if you use a slow release source of nitrogen. With that, thank you. I hope you heard me. Let me know if there are questions, and I don't know. Let's stop share this.
Yeah, your microphone started coming in much better. I don't know what happened,
Okay.
but
Okay. So you did hear
yeah,
me.
yeah.
Okay, good.
So yeah, folks, if you've got any questions for Dr. Schiavone, you can either write them in or you can unmute yourselves. But yeah, I know that it can be pretty complex trying to figure out these issues, and very math intensive. But yeah, if you got anything, please go ahead and ask right now. Well, I've got a question. So, given that like the blackout periods have, um, I guess kind of there's it's somewhat political, like how they started and everything. Is there, have you been part of any conversations
Okay.
for changing that or like where is all that at currently for both the state and maybe on
Okay.
local levels?
Okay. Okay. And yes, this is a sensitive issue, and let me explain it. Let me explain you what's going on right now. I know that they stricter rules are probably created with the best intention in mind. Okay. However, sometimes they are created instead of following the science and the data. They are sometimes created following sentiment. Now, this is only the first part. What I'm presenting you today is only the first part of blackout fertilizer period and their effect on turfgrass. I also have a really nice, interesting part that it's coming out this December about what happens with nutrient leaching when you include a blackout fertilizer period. And unfortunately, it's actually the exact opposite of what people expected, meaning that since you are forced to fertilize heavily in the spring and the grass is waking up in the spring, you actually leach more. And so when I make these results published, which I hope by next year they'll be published, I hope I'll be more and more involved in conversation regarding blackout periods and whatnot. It is a really sensitive issue, and I'm here to tell you, actually, obviously, I'm here to tell you that if there's a law, you have to follow it. That's it's not. I cannot tell you to break the law, obviously. However, I'm also here to tell you that I want to make the law as effective as possible in order to have the best environmental effect and not making it even worse.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I know. There's a lot to navigate here. And I totally understand like that. But yeah, from us, the folks that talking to the managers, the homeowners, and then from what we know about how this is, yeah, it's tough. And what we know about plant, um, how they're active during this time of the year, and and then yeah, putting all the stress like of trying to get everything done on the bookends of the growing season. So yeah, I mean, I get it. And yeah, and I know that like it seems like some places are much more into this blackout period enforcement and stuff than others. And so I guess maybe that's also part of the FFL here. Be aware of the app like that's out there from FFL that lets you know about like the codes and ordinances related to this issue.
Yes,
And
you're the responsible one. You're the responsible one, and the truth is, um, if you're in South Florida, you are generally speaking luckier than people up north because we actually have higher organic matter. And higher organic matter usually helps us offset a little bit of those nutrient needs. That's why I think if you can keep fertilization moderate, like at 4 pounds of nitrogen per thousand square feet, that's a good approach. Uh, the more is not the merrier. Above 6 pounds of nitrogen per thousand square feet, like literally fertilizing every month makes zero sense. Fertilizing alone every month makes zero sense, not only on an environmental point of view, but even on an economical point of view, because at that point you're spending so much money on fertilizer that is not even picked up by the plant. Um,
yeah, yeah.
so try to be conservative when you fertilize and always remember these. Uh, my industry, the turfgrass industry, the industry I serve, is purely based off um, appearance of the look. So generally speaking, if you're not in an HOA, so if you're not in any community that enforces you to have a super amazing lawn, the thing is, it's always as good as you want it. Okay. For instance, my lawn is not the best, but it's green. It's green and it's functional. Okay. And I don't need it to have it look like a golf course. I am fine if every once in a while there's some weed. I am fine irrigating less, like having the grass entering really short period of drought and then watering only when the grass actually needs it. I am fine with all those things. And by that, I apply nitrogen at 2 pounds per year. I fertilize twice per year, and the lawn is fine. It's green, it's healthy, it's growing. I need to mow it once per week, and that's it. Um, could it be darker green? Yes, of course. Does it need to be darker green? I personally don't think so. I'm the one that makes the decision, so it's totally fine by me.
Yeah, yeah. No, I know. It gets interesting with all the HOAs and all that
Yes.
stuff.
The,
So
the yeah the HOA is the bottleneck to me. It's the main problem, and the problem is a lot of it's unrealistic expectations. And
mm,
sometimes people watching golf, they get unrealistic expectation and they believe that their backyard should look like Augusta. But guess what? It doesn't need to. And
yeah.
it probably will never. And since it will never, the only thing will be those unrealistic expectation. The only thing that they will create will be frustration and nothing else.
So I'm gonna go ahead and launch the post here or the post poll, and then yeah, no, I guess we'll just continue that. It sounds like what I'm kind of hearing is like maybe the enemy of perfect is or uh the the enemy of good is perfect, and it like we
Yes,
have this idea that like perfect yard is like the idea a lot of people have, and then it's like really you if you spend it's like 80% of the look. But if you want that 100% look, you're going to have to spend like another 80% of effort.
exactly,
So,
exactly,
so, so
exactly.
it's tough. Yeah. I mean, and yeah, I mean, Florida, yeah, we've got a lot of it's not just the environmental conditions or the physical and chemical conditions, like all the biological stuff too. So,
Right, right.
so man, well, yeah, well, I mean, I guess before we go here, yeah, thank you. Like, I mean, for going out there and keeping up the research on all of this, and hopefully there'll be more discussions about and like you'll have more updates as well if we have further installments here talking about this.
Absolutely. I am sorry about the microphone issues, but I hope the take-home message
Oh, you're coming
was
through clear. And
delivered.
that's what was confusing to me too. In the beginning, it was perfect. And then like for some reason for minutes like 5 through 10 or something, it kind of started having problems, but it's back on now. So
All right, all right, all right.
so let's
Good.
see here. Let's I hope I transcribed everything here correctly. I'm gonna go ahead. We got 11 folks that replied, so that I think that's pretty good sample. I'm gonna end the poll and share the results. Dr. Scavone, if you want to go over your quiz
Yes,
here.
yes.
So,
So, what kind of nitrogen should you use if your address has a fertilizer ban? Slow release, right before the blackout ban, slow release. And the longer the ban, the higher that number needs to be. Okay. Don't be afraid to go to 75, 90%. slow release nitrogen. Because they may cost more, but at the end of the day, if your fertilizer ban is like 5, 6 months, that's the best option you have. Okay. Well, the second one, 100%, you got it right. Perfect. And the third one, okay, what's the recommended nitrogen rate per application when using a slow release fertilizer? Now, the question asks the recommended, not the legal. Yes, you can apply at 2 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet, but we recommend 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. Okay, 3, it's illegal. 3, you're breaking the law. 3 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet, you're already breaking the law. You can apply at 2, but we recommend 1 and spread it out.
Gotcha. And then like how, just to kind of go back over that, what would be the interval between like those applications?
As we said, my probably talking about South Florida, 4 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. I would say best time it will be March, May, and then if you have a blackout period, you need to go to November, December. If you do not have a blackout period, then you can do March, May, July, and end of October, beginning of November.
All right. Well, good deal. Well, thank you so much again. I mean, yeah, I know there's a lot of confusion out there, and it's not just like the um the the blackout period itself, but like how to go about it. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of good BMP information there you covered. So thank you for covering the technical side of all this. It's like almost like if you do GI BMP, we kind of gloss over that part. This is the part that's like, here is the math. Like we don't want to
Yes, you
lose
have
you
to.
guys on it, but
But
so
you have to know it. Yes. Yeah.
so thank you again. And yeah, and if anyone's got questions, go feel free to email me. And I'll see what I can do for you. And then I will follow up with a link to the recording so that you can have access to this. But other than that, let's see, I got one thing here in the chat. Okay. Yeah, Gary, I'll get back to you. And then yeah, everything else, yeah, I guess we're about at the end of the hour here. So again, thank you, Dr. Scavone. We
Perfect.
appreciate it for you being here on a federal holiday. Uh and uh and hopefully we'll have some further collaborations and hear how
Absolutely.
things evolve here. So
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
take care.
All
Take
right.
care, everyone.
Bye bye.